Okay. Looks like sending data. Um, Sending data. Yeah. Is it streamed though? There we go. All right, fantastic. Am I gonna have to do that every stream? All right. One sec. Sorry, I gotta go through and reset up everything again. Back. Hi. Welcome. That was a delight. YouTube is changing stuff that nobody asked them to change. Not a fan of it. And it's happening to me regardless. So, hi. Welcome back. If you were on Twitch, and welcome for the first time if you were on YouTube. So, just to re-say what I'd said before, when apparently no one could see, we're working on a virtual assistant conversational interface that basically gives you the New York Times dialect quiz. Not exactly the same, but we're using the same underlying trading data, courtesy of Bert Vox. Thank you, Bert Vox. It's from the Harvard Dialect Survey. And our assistant, instead of having these multiple choice questions, just asks you the question and then you reply to it. Sorry, YouTube says still sending data, but it looks like it is live. Ooh, mysterious. That's a problem for future, Rachel, because it works right now. So, audio's a little bit high. There we go. What had happened last time was we got our Rasa X server set up, and I did something bad. I don't know what it was. It might have been that my VM restarted and didn't keep the information for my GitHub connection, but as you can see, it's not currently connected to the Git repository that has our assistant in it. And I was fully intending to spend some time last week fixing this, but instead I was out last week because I've been trying to adopt a dog for a while. And once we were approved, it happened very quickly. So I spent last week on paternity. So spending time with the new dog who is in here. So if you hear any like sniffling or jangling, that'll be him. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to fix our GitHub thing. What we are going to do instead is work on tests. So this was in our plan. Let's see if I can. I'm just pulling up the document we were working on last week that has our design document that has the sort of plans for the things that we were going to do next. So here we go. And the things that we were going to do next in order was fix the GitHub connection that I'm going to probably have to do off screen. And I didn't do that. So we're doing number 2, which is making sure we have tests that work because we're going to start modifying our assistant. So we know that it works right now, but we want to have a way to quickly check that it continues to work when we change things. And as you can see, we actually do have a partial test here. So this does the greeting, starts the elicitation form. These are the provided slots for this particular form. And then this is not actually what we're doing right now. So once the slots are all filled, the assistant just says, here's the values, and the user says thanks, and then the assistant's like, no worries. And then we have the path where there's no quiz. And this is the intent, and then this is the text. And I don't think these are going to work, but we can test. So if you have stories in a markdown file in your tests folder, you should be able to just run them with Rasa test. Did that thing again, where it gets sent to the bottom. All right, and we got some, oh, it did work. Nice. So we got some information back out of this. And basically what we're doing is we know how we expect these conversations to go, and we want to make sure that as we modify our assistant, these core things that it's really important that our assistant can do continue to work. So for us, that's taking the quiz. If you had like a assistant for a telecom company and people need to be able to pay their bill and maybe change their phone number, or I don't know what else you do with a telecom company, upgrade their plan or downgrade their plan, you want to make sure that those things always work, even if you start adding new stuff your assistant can do. So, coffee. Usually by this time of day I've had two. This is my second. Yes, I drink a lot of coffee, and I live in Seattle, and it's fun. Okay, so here are our test results, and we do have a warning that the classifier that we're using is deprecated, so that means that it's no longer being supported. It's no longer sort of the current thing that the software package expects, and it's going to be removed in version 2.0. So right now, the stable release is 1 point something. I don't know the exact subversion number that's live right now, but we are moving towards version 2.0 that has a lot of changes we've made mostly for quality of life, just to make it easier to develop assistants based on user feedback. And of course, this is an open source project, so if you have things that you think are really important to include in 2.0, and you've played with it for a bit and you're like, oh, this should be different, feel free to give us some issues or even make a pull request. So let's look through our results really quickly, because I'm thinking we're going to get some failures, because when we wrote this test story, our assistant did not do the things that it does currently, not curiously. And let me just check in with the chat. Everybody say hi. Hi. Thank you for letting me know that the video wasn't working, by the way. Setting up conversational AI testing. Yep. Rasa says, when we run Rasa run actions, why can't we stop with Control C? Is there another way to terminate? Oh, to stop the action server. I usually close the terminal. I'm sure there is. I believe it's a SANIC server, so you can stop it using the commands to stop a SANIC server. If it's not in the docs, I would ask on the forums and then file an issue on the docs. Yeah, usually I just close the terminal. I realize that's not a great long-term solution. Okay, so evaluating two stories. So we have this story here that's no quiz happens, and this story here that's the happy path where the person takes the quiz. And right now, this test doesn't match what our assistant will do. Our assistant will also return, it'll run an action to classify the dialect and then return that information to the user. And then the second story where no quiz happens. So those are the two stories that are being evaluated. And it ran pretty quickly. Evaluating the results, correct 0 out of 2. So both of our stories had issues with them. Again, we wrote these a while ago. So the state of the assistant has changed, but the tests have not. So they're not very useful just now. What we're going to do today is make sure that they are a little bit more useful. And if I had my GitHub connection fixed, one way that would be able to create tests rather than writing them in a text editor like this would be to have a conversation with the assistant or have a test user have a conversation with the assistant, and then you can save that conversation as a, under here, if there is a conversation that's gone here, it will be saved as a story, and then you can save it as a test conversation using this tab, which I can't right now because there's ain't no conversation there. F1 score, which is the harmonic mean of precision and recall, right? Yeah, pretty sure. 0, precision 1, precision 0, accuracy 0. Ooh, ouch. We failed both of our tests, so all these results are like, bad idea. Faisa says, that's what I do too, but I have to open a bunch of terminals for actions, lol. Yeah, I'm sure there's a better way to do that. If anybody in the chat knows how to stop your action server without closing the terminal, feel free to stick that in the chat and I will do that instead. And so these tests here, you can see that it's all Rasa cores. So core is what we use for the dialogue policy, figuring out what to say next. Nichin says, quick question. What's your question? So all of these results are specifically for the picking what to say next part. In data fractions, so I believe this is how many of your utterances were actually exactly replicated in your training data. The higher this is, the more likely it is that your precision, recall, and accuracy are going to be higher, because it's possible that you've overfit to your training data. So you want these to be higher, this to be lower, and then the evaluation results at the action level. So this top section is, did the whole test run good? Did the whole conversation go the way that you wanted it to go? And this bit is, if we look at every specific action that the assistant used, does it match what we have in our test? Akalash says, Control-C was working for me. I wonder if it might be an OS issue. Yeah, let's just open a new shell and see what we can. Rasa actions. And for anyone who's not familiar with this IDE, I'm using VS Code. All right, and so it's up and running, and I'm gonna click in here and do Control-C. Oh yeah, that worked. Yeah, is it Command-C on a Mac maybe? Oh, I don't know. Back to the test results. Nichin says, when we have a slot set event in custom actions and add the stories related to it, if there are more than one values that can be set for that slot in actions, what value do we set if that makes sense? In the custom actions and add the stories related to it, there's more than one value that can be set for that slot in actions. Oh, for the tests. If you're going to change what you do based on the value of the slot, I would do each of the applicable slot values as its own story, if it's important that you are able to handle all of them. For this one, I just pick some, right? So I just set these slot values to, I think, what I would say in this situation, but this could be any of the applicable slot values. If all you care about is that the slot set event runs and the slot is set correctly to a value, then it just like pick one. If each different slot set value is important, then I'd write a test for each of them. Would be my recommendation. Ariane says, Faisa says, it never works for me. That only works for terminating enable API and to stop the shell. I don't know. It looks like it did work for me just now, so maybe post about it. I don't know, it could be your specific shell, possibly. Yeah, I might post an issue on GitHub is the word I was looking for. More coffee. Adityan says, I'm playing around with Rasa 2.0.0 RC1. I wrote some rules which end. We're adding more robust support for rules in 2.0 for those of you who hadn't heard. Wait for user input false, thereby expecting another rule to pick up from this rule based on some slot values. When writing test stories, this keeps failing with the prediction action default fallback. So what exactly is the story equivalent for the wait for user input false in rules? I don't know off the top of my head. The docs for 2.0 I think are live now. If it's not in there, again, I'd file an issue. I have glanced at rules, but not played around with them yet. Ariane says, how do I stop the action listen at the end of Stum's story? I believe you can use the pause action in order to do that. And then it will start again when you unpause. Pretty sure. I'd double check in the docs. Coffee. Okay. Back to our test results. So this is going through and looking at each action. So this utter start quiz, we're always getting wrong. I believe we've actually removed this utterance from our assistant, so that makes sense. Thank you, we're always getting correct. Greet, we're mostly getting right. Affirm, we're always getting right. Elicitation form, no worries. Inform and utter greet, we're always getting wrong. Action listen, we get right some of the time. And then deny and utter slot values, we always get wrong. And then these values will range between 1 and 0. I would say around 80 is usually pretty good, 80 to 90. If you have a really complex assistant, on user data, 1 is going to be too much. On your tests, 1 is fairly reasonable. Could not you load the Qt platform plugin Windows in nothing in quotes, even though it was found? The application failed to start because no Qt platform plugin could be initialized. Reinstalling the application may fix the problem. Available Direct2D, blah, blah, blah. I believe this is for the visualizations, and we just don't have the supported plugins, which I'm fine with. Blah, 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 blah. Failed. Okay. So let's update our stories so that they reflect what our assistant's actually doing, and then see if we can get some slightly better results so that our tests are actually helpful for what we're working on. All right, so let's pop open stories. So here is the current happy path. And you can see that we don't have an utter greet, we just have an utter start quiz. And I'm just gonna copy this here. And then go back to our tests. And I'm just gonna paste it above, I think is gonna be easiest. I didn't mean to do that, there we go. Okay, so they have a greet. We don't have an utter greet, so we should remove that. We just go into utter start quiz. So this is the story that our assistant has been trained in, and that's what we expect them to serve to the user. Them, I don't know why it's plural. Feza says, if we want user input like name to be identified in actions, do I need to list them all in the intents? Like all the possible input names? If there's a small set of names, then that might work. I would say like 5 or 6. If there's more than that, I would probably use duckling. Alakash says, I'm doing NER on data, all the names and locations from that data. Can we do that to our bot when a person tells to the bot their name and location and they're getting stored? Like later on I say, what is my name? Bot should be able to say my name. How do we do that? So what you would do is you would create an entity. So, and this is relevant to what we're doing here. So here I have an intent inform that has a bunch of examples of what might be set to the bug entity, and then this is the information that would be saved in that slot. And those slots, or that those slots will be there, is in the domain file. Here's all the entities. And I should also have a list of slots somewhere. Actions. Oh, no, entities and slots are the same. Okay. More coffee. No, wait. These are the slots. There we go. So here's all our entities. Here's all our slots. I don't actually have a lot of training data for these entities. Only, I think, the top 3 actually have any examples provided because of the way I've set up my form. It's a little bit funky. We're probably going to have to go back and change it, actually. And then here are the slots, and then I can refer to this later. So if we look at, once that's been set, so here is an example of where my assistant is providing information based on something that's in a slot. So this slot dialect is the quick way to talk about it. The masterclass videos that we have on our YouTube channel go into this in much more detail. And that content is also available as a free ebook on our website. So if you search for Rasa Masterclass ebook, you should be able to find it. And if you know that you have more things than you're going to be able to provide examples for, I would use Duckling. So I believe Duckling has a built-in name extraction thing. And if you're not familiar, Duckling is a tool that you would... No, that's about actual ducklings. Let me make sure that I have it actually correct. I know they do dates, but I'm pretty sure they also do other things as well. So this is the information from Duckling. They do date times. I thought they also did names. Oh, maybe they do phone number, amount of water. Maybe they don't do names. But I would look for maybe like open class NER would be a good search term. And also there's a lot of information on entity extraction in our docs that has more examples. But if it's something from one of these categories, I'm in front of it: time, temperature, number, ordinal, distance, volume, amount of money, duration, email, URL, or phone number, the easiest way to do it is going to be Duckling. And you just run that as a third server. So your browser server, your action server, and your Duckling server. Yes, that's what we were working on. I'm distractible today. I might save any questions that are left until after I'm done with fixing this test. So you'll notice that there is a difference between the story and the test, and that's that I am providing the text that the user inputs. So here the user is saying howdy, and that is missing from the story because we want to be able to identify any intent that is greet, not just, you know, the specific keyword that starts the assistant. So elicitation form, yeah. And then we fill all the slots. And here we are providing the slot values. From here, I'm gonna cut this again and then go down to the bottom because that's gonna be more helpful. All right, so that's the elicitation form. And then the form finishes. And then it should do, right now it's just uttering the slot values. So we're gonna get rid of that. And instead it utters the slot values, runs this detect dialect action, and then returns the results of that detect dialect action through an utterance. And then thank you and no worries is the same. And then for this, I'm pretty sure the only difference between the way our assistant works now and the way our assistant worked then is that we don't have an utter greet. So let's save this and pop open our shell again, and then run another test. And this time we should get better results, hopefully. Okay, while that's running, Pomagat says Spacey NER for names. Oh yeah, for sure. We already have the Spacey integration for the languages they support. Akila says, if I give an example of the names, for a few names, it works for those names, but it gives errors for other ones. Akila says, how do I do that in my in Rasa and define in your pipeline? Well, that looks better. And I think this is just running because we don't have our action server up. Rasa extract name. Let's see if I can find an example really quick. This one's a little dated. It's from last year, but it should be sort of... yeah, okay. So Spacey NER, this is, duckling is more for the things that we talked about. And you can also train your own. And I'm looking for, you can also do an irregular expression or a lookup table, but that's, I would recommend using those last because they are more prone to error. Little flow chart. I'm looking for just an example. I don't see the not the pipe, the config, yeah, not the domain, the config file, which is where your pipeline is. Pull it up, this one. So you would add it as a step in here. Okay, let's check our results. So 2 stories were evaluated. Correct, 0 out of 2. Okay, so we still have some errors that we're gonna have to work on. Actually, let me get this out of the way. I think it's a little bit distracting. Better. So our end-to-end stories were wrong, but I believe we were more accurate on a individual action level. So let's scroll up and take a look. So the first time we were correct 3 out of 14 times. The second time we are correct 7 out of 14 times. So that's much better. Big improvement, but I think we're going to need to tweak our tests a little bit more. And accuracy, we were right about half the time. So let me move off the results we're looking at. And about half of our data that we provided was actually in the training data. So utter dialect value, we were always wrong. Utter no worries, we were always wrong. And then utter slot values, we were always wrong. Was I wrong? Thank you. Utter no worries. So that's what it is in the tests. What is it in our stories? Thank you, utter no worries. Thank you, utter no worries. When we were always wrong on deny. Interesting. So let's make this something, actually let's add that to our NLU training data. I think that's gonna be better. So we're adding na as an example, and then dude, we have a thank intent. And I'm gonna add cool thanks. Ouch. Excuse me. The smoke is much better in Seattle, by the way of your word. Okay, so now we should be able to retrain. And I'm going to go back to my test and change that. Yep, there we go. And I'm also going to run my action server, which I believe we need to do for the action to actually happen. And if it doesn't actually happen, then we don't detect the dialect, so we can't share the dialect values. So this should help. All right, and we've retrained our model, and that should work. Let's run another test. Hopefully we're gonna have better results. Although the second one should just work. Okay, so we still have issues with the detect dialect and utter dialect values. I may need to look up running tests with actions, because I'm not 100% sure that my syntax is actually correct here. Let's see. Okay, so end to end, 1 out of 2. So it looks like our no quiz path is working correctly, which is great. That's what we're looking for. But the more important path, which is the happy path, is not working correctly. And the reason that I know that is because if I look at the action breakdown, you can see that the things that only happen in the happy path are being graded as 0. So they're never right. We're never doing them correctly. So Akhilesh says, are you using forms in this? Yes, I'm using a form called elicitation form. I think that might need to go first. Let's see if this works. And if this doesn't work, I'm just going to go to the docs and like double check my syntax. It's very likely that's the problem. All right. Oh, did I save this? Sure didn't. All right. Also, that says Rasa test over 2 lines on top of my thing. JobLib is deprecated. This is what we're using to import our trained Python model. Please import this function directly from JobLib. May need to reserialize these models. All right, that's also a problem for future Rachel. Also, updating the intent and embedding classifier is a problem for future Rachel. Let me add that to our technical fixes. Updates we need to, I'm just in my design document. We need to, I'm actually just gonna copy the whole future warning, just so I have it. JobLib, and then we need to update the embedding intent classifier to the diet classifier. And future warnings are like, it's not a problem yet, but it's gonna be one. Be on your toes. All right, 1 out of 2 form. Oh, interesting. So it's happening right. Okay, so this I think is the form, and this is just an action call to elicitation form. Faisa says, if an action is registered after running the action server, but when testing the bot jumps or makes an error at that action, does that mean I have a problem in the action or else? If the action, focus, There we go. If the action is working, just not in your tests, I would say it's probably an issue with your tests. So right now I think the tests are wrong. Kailash says, can you check your forms and slots? I think I saw 2 forms. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing 2 forms here. Let's see. Yeah, so we have this Ross form elicitation form here, and then we have, I just move it? And then we turn the form off. All right, let's Newton says there's a typo, you added RSA. Ah, I see. I'm going to actually check the documentation really quick because at this point I am not sure of my syntax for the test. So, Rasa test form. Couple tabs. Okay, so this is for the new forms, and forms have actually changed quite a bit. So I want to make sure that I go back to the 1.x instead. Yep, you can have my cookies. I got Sarah. Let's see that. How can I test a form? See how she does. There have been some pretty major doc updates, so if you see anything that's a little bit wonky right now, like Sarah not answering, do I need to greet? All right. Sarah down, question mark? And we had some a little bit of instability with the demo sandbox testing thing, so it stands to reason we might have a little work to do on Sarah because of the large number of updates that have happened recently. Look how nice they look now, though. So nice. I can actually get this text in the middle big. That's all I want from life. Questions. Okay, yep, no. That is not what I want right now, though. All right, I'm looking for a puppy. No, he's fine. Stories, forms. Here we go. Getting a couple pieces of information and the config file. Make this a little bit bigger. Form basic, form action, blah, 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 blah. How do I test? Where's the tests? Custom slot mappings, blah, 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 blah. Validation, not what I'm looking for. Handling unhappy paths, chit chat, request slots, debugging. Okay, so these are all about testing as in humans are doing the testing. Let's see if I can get a form example. Here we go. Okay. So here is an example of the form's happy path. So when the form works as intended. And let's just pop this up here and see what we're doing and what the preferred thing is. So greet, yep, instead. And then the form starts, and then the name, and then the inform, okay? And then I think actually I have set this up incorrectly. And then at the end, the assistant's going to, sorry, I'm just double checking this. Form. Yeah. Setting the slots. So this example Christian says, oh, there's a typo that I added RSA. Thank you. So what I'm doing here is I have a single inform. And I think what I need are actually multiple informs. Because the way the assistant works is that we're getting multiple, there's multiple instances of the user, and this is just talking about the results of your test. So there's multiple instances of users providing the inform. Intent is the word I was looking for there. Wowee. Okay. I'm looking for a restaurant. User sent a message which should not be handled by the form. Here we go. So custom actions are not executed as part of end-to-end tests. If your custom action actions append any events to the tracker, this has to be reflected in your end-to-end tests, e.g. by adding slot events to your end-to-end story. Okay, good to know. So what I need to do is I need to I do need to manually set the slot. It's called dialect, I'm pretty sure, to dialect class results. Okay. Okay, so the actions are never run, so we will always have 0% accuracy on actually running the actions, and that is not a problem. Yeah, let's see if it'll work now. So the thing that I'm wondering now is, does the way I have it set up where there is one inform intent and then all the slots are just set automatically still work? Now that we know that the action will never be correctly run because the tests don't run actions, but sharing the dialect should run. All right, so thank you, elicitation form, affirm, yes. I didn't remove the example from the docs. All right, let's do that. So it's like, you didn't successfully request an Afghan restaurant. What's wrong with you? Let me just get rid of this. Derp. All right. All right, let's run this test for one more time. Faiza says, is it offline? The assistant or the stream? The stream looks like it's online. There we go. Okay. Oh yeah, we need to run the tests again. It's thinking. Got that future warning. And it didn't make the graphs, which is fine. And all right, let's take a look now. So now we evaluate two stories. One of them is correct, one of them isn't correct. And if we look at the action level, we're up to 9 out of 14. Last time it was 7 out of 14, so 2 more of the actions are correct. And doing pretty good. We do have a fair amount of our data is actually included in the training data, but it'll be fine. Utter slot values should work because we've manually set all the slots. Although it is also possible that I changed the slot names in between writing this this test. And inform is wrong. That's I'd say I'm just going to give it an example of something that's fairly close to what's in the training data. So I think that will be identified correctly now, hopefully. No worries was said wrong once. Is the thank you being identified correctly? It is both times. Interesting. But we still have those no worries problems. Okay. Is deny being identified? Okay, so deny is being identified correctly once out of 2 times. What? There's only one deny. I'm just gonna change that a little bit and see if that'll work in the future. But we might need to work on this deny intent a little bit. Detect dialect did not work because obviously we didn't run it. Listen worked pretty good, so our system is mostly knowing when to wait and pause for user feedback. A form is working, running the elicitation form is working, starting the quiz is working. Again, inform is a little bit funky, and then no worries is... So deny and no worries are both being misidentified sometimes. And then my camera's like that. So this is definitely an improvement. Lisa says, what is the use of blob and Rasa actions? I don't know. Are we using it in this one? I believe it's a... blob is a library that allows you to do things over multiple files in a file system at once. Does that sound right? Python blob. Pretty sure that's what that does. Oh, no. It's blob storage on Azure. Update blobs. Oh, that's right. Blobs are like just things in a database that could be anything, right? Does that sound right? What am I thinking of then? That lets you, yeah? Sorry, talking to the dog. What am I thinking of that lets you, is it like loop? It's like a word that means like a squishy mass. Glob? Maybe it's glob and not blob? Yeah, it's glob. Okay. I am confusing glob, G-L-O-B, and blob, B-L-O-B. So I'm guessing storing stuff in a database that's not like a text string. Probably? I don't know. I don't think I've used it with Rasa. In 1 sec, I'm just gonna check super quick and make sure that he's doing okay. Oh, he's not where I thought he was. The dog. I guess I'll find out what he's up to after the stream. I can hear him. Well, if there's total destruction, I guess I'll let you know in the next stream. Okay. So, what our tests have told us. We know that detect dialect is never going to be run, so we might as well just remove it and instead set these slots here, right? Because what detect dialect action is doing is it's setting the dialect slot. Actually, that might not be how it's spelled. It's setting the dialect slot to have a specific value, and that value is determined by the outcome of the classifier. And yep, okay, that is correct. We don't care a whole lot about that. The other thing I want to check is the slots themselves. So can I get a split screen? Sure can. Okay, and then in one of these split screens, I want to open up my list of slots for my domain. Yeah, all right. So bug, beverage, second person plural, caught, rain sun, Crawfish, crawfish. Halloween, Halloween, which is coming up. I'm so excited. Sandwich, sandwich. Side road, side road. Get rid of this actually. And by this I mean that leading space. Shoes, shoes. Highway, highway. Yard sale, yard sale. Rubbernecking, rubbernecking. Frosting, frosting. Lawyer, lawyer. Kitty corner, kitty corner. Firefly, firefly. Verge, verge. Brew through, brew through. Water fountain, water fountain. Okay, so those have all been set correctly. Do not know where the problem with the utter slot values is coming in then. Okay, and now I want you to go away. How do I get it? Shoe? I've made an error. I guess my screen is just split now. There's like a double click area up here I can close. Nope, isn't. Well. Okay. That's just something that's happened to me right now. So did we change anything since the last time we ran a test? I don't remember. So let's run one more test and see if our results change. And I will say, for at least my personal philosophy for tests on machine learning things is, if there is like a stochastic element, if there's something probabilistic about your model output, my husband and I get into fights about probabilistic and deterministic stuff in computer science all the time because I'm a machine learning / stats person and he is a software engineer. If you have some sort of probabilistic model as part of your system, if what you are looking for with your testing is 100% accuracy all the time, what you will build is an overfit system. So I am okay with my tests not all being 100%. I think I'll probably like set a threshold and be like, if it's over this threshold, it's passing. That's just my personal idea. Okay, so looking individually, end to end, 1 out of 2 ran. The simple one is running fine, which I'm very happy with. And our action level, we are up to 9 out of 13, which is higher because last time it was 9 out of 14. And we removed the detect dialect action. It looks like this utter dialect value has some problems. Is it called utter dialect value? Sure is. All right. Have we saved this? Yes. We just haven't pushed those changes. And then utter slot values is also wrong. I don't know why that is, because we have manually set all of those slots to the correct values. So our assistant should be able to just produce an utterance with those values set, and it's not. Oh, here we go. Action list is doing pretty good. We fixed the deny problem. All right, we'll just like hang out with these for a little bit. And yeah, I'd say overall pretty good. Above 80 is pretty good. Well, I guess at some point, yeah, so I'm just thinking about, we do always want our assistant to do the same thing in the same order given the same input. So maybe my personal thresholds are going to be a little bit higher here because we're not testing. I'll sleep on that and probably reread Karen's really good blog post on testing. Yeah. Faisa says there's an episode from 1 to 7 these days in your Rasa channel posted, and if you see episode 3, then he used blah. Oh, Vincent did. Oh, I bet that's to store user choices. I would bet. Yeah, I'd ask Vincent. So I think what Faiza's talking about is the breakout bot, which is like a classic text adventure system built using Rasa. And I will say I recently tried a text adventure, like one of the really old ones. I forget what it was called. It wasn't Escape from Monkey Island. It was where like you go down into a cave and there's like a dwarf and you're trying to get like a gold ingot out, but it's too heavy. I don't think it's the one where you get eaten by Grooves. Anyway, classic rule-based system, and it works pretty well, but the points of failure, I was like, oh, hey, a more probabilistic model would have handled this better. So I'm looking forward to more episodes of the Breakout Bot. Aklesh says, how about train and then test? Sure. I don't think we've changed anything, and if we haven't, then when we run Rasa train, it'll just say nothing changed. Yeah, nothing's changed. But always good to check. Good suggestion, thank you. So our tests are mostly updated, pretty happy with them. As we add new functionality, we're gonna need to add new tests. And actually, one thing that we can add a test for next time is, are you a bot? Because we don't currently have a test for that, but we should at some point. But yeah, I think we've mostly fixed the main happy path test. It's not sharing slot values, which is the one thing that I'm like worried about. So we'll handle that next time, I think. So thanks for joining. We've been working on updating our tests so that they match what our assistant actually does now. And I'm just gonna pull up Karen's really good post about Rasa testing that she wrote on the blog. There we go. So that was from April, and this one is a little bit more more relevant. So I'm just gonna go back and read through here and make sure that the things that I remember are in fact the things that are in it, and I'm not hallucinating information. And yeah, we'll come back on Friday. I think we'll probably keep working on tests just a tiny bit, add some more functionality, and then maybe work on some of those future warnings and see if we can update some of our dependencies to make sure that our assistant will continue to work. And there's like a 20% chance I'm actually going to remember to fix the GitHub connection, but we'll see. Faisa says, is there a live tomorrow? Yes, we will be working on the paper that we started last week, 2 weeks ago, which is on something. Yep, so we'll be doing a paper reading. Right, so paper reading tomorrow, live coding on Friday, and I will see y'all then. Have a great week. Bye.